Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back, MK Vibe Podcast. It's us. We're back. We got two special guests today, Zafar Ahmed and Ittisham. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. I'm not gonna take up too much time.
Alexan Jazakallah bhai. Yeah, my name is Zafir and I am part of the Ahmadi Muslims.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ihtisham Ashraf and I'm part of Richmond, Virginia Majlis.
Richmond, huh? Yes. Representing Richmond, man. I'm telling you, Richmond is a special place in my heart, man. You know, we had Josa last year, but Richmond is just like it's a vibe, man. It really is.
It is.
Like it's like this like very unique hipster style place, and you see that when we went to Josa. But I've been going like for my brother went to school there and stuff like that, so it's a very very like hipster vibe, but not like hipster where it's overbearing, right? Where it's like
Right.
you feel out of place. You're like, oh, I can't order a simple coffee somewhere. So it's a total it's a unique experience there. And then Zafar, you live in Mogami, so Maryland's just Maryland. We're here, we're stuck here. Like Maryland is.
It's been the same.
Maryland's huge.
Yeah.
Right. Maryland's huge.
Yeah.
If you're on the bottom end, like here, it's
Yeah.
completely different from like you start going near Baltimore and the other places.
Even near the coast, like we have the ocean touching us.
Yeah, like
parts of
the
Maryland.
Chesapeake area and stuff like that. It's like really, really, really different.
Yep.
But anyways, man, I like the main stuff I wanted to get into on this episode is, a lot of guys they kind of think about Khilafat in like many different ways, right? And Hazur is sitting in London, and it's far, like it's not something that we can touch or something that we can visit like that easily. But I want to kind of like talk about and just have like just a dialogue with you guys about why should we go and see Hazur? Why should we take the sacrifice of our own time and whatever we're doing, whether we're working, going to school, studying, and go see Hazur? Like talk to me, and like you guys can take it. Whoever wants to go first, and just tell me like if you've gone, what your experiences are, and what ultimately you would tell somebody who like has no desire or hasn't even thought about it really. Like, yeah.
You can start.
I mean, I think there's so many reasons why we should go. I'll just start with like something just like why I was driven to go. I mean, I started going regularly. It was during COVID, like the height of COVID. Islamabad was kind of like locked down. The entire world was locked down. So I had this thought, this idea to kind of ask Sadr Saab at that point, Madil Bhai, if it was appropriate, to ask Hazur if I could come down to Islamabad. I didn't even know what the process was. Didn't know if anyone done this before, what to do. So he was like, you know what, just write it up. Like, we'll see. We'll ask Hazur. And I was like, oh, what should I write? Like, should I write like, oh, can I come? Yeah. Or like, should I include that I don't have accommodation? And he was like, yeah, just write everything. So we just went ahead and we're like, Hazur, I want to come for 2 weeks. Can I do Waqf Arzi? And can I get accommodation? Like all this stuff, right? And it's like, man, I don't even know like if any of this is possible. Like, Islamabad's not that big. Like, but I was like, let's just see Hazur if he decides. So, Allah's Fazl, I got permission to come during COVID. I think this is like 2021 or December, and I go up there and I'm able to stay in Islamabad when the entire world is locked down. There's very few people in Islamabad. Even when we're going for prayers, it's like 20 people inside the masjid.
Yeah.
Because everyone is spaced out. So that was really surreal, and that's when I really I felt like developed that like stronger connection with Khilafat. And just being there, when I came back, I spoke to like multiple Khaddam. Like they were like, oh, like what was it that you went there, and like why should we go? Kind of, right? That same question. Why should we spend that money like going from here? And I was like, man, I don't really. I may not be able to articulate it well, but like when I was there in Islamabad for those 2 weeks and just kind of away from the hustle. I'm in DC most of the time for school, so kind of away from the hustle and bustle of like the American life.
Yeah.
It was just like so serene and calm.
Just
knowing that like Hazur is here, and like kind of you and I were talking offline about like how when you were there, like you can hear like the raindrop, right?
Yeah.
It's just like moments like that where you just feel like you have an opportunity to be closer to Allah Ta'ala, because you're doing five prayers behind that one individual in this world at this moment in time that has the closest connection with Allah Ta'ala, right? Like Allah Ta'ala has the closest connection with this man, and that's like something that
That's powerful,
very few people have an opportunity for. So I mean, for me, just that point, like I mean, there's so many other things, but like just that moment of reflection, like being there, just walking around Islamabad or after namaz and just being like, man, like Hazur is in that room, like 2 miles away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm just standing here, like that's just like something like really surreal for me. And like I think like that just for that feeling itself, it's hard to kind of describe, but I feel like many of us that have gone there can kind of attest to this fact that there is that thing.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps, like literally, like I'm not even lying to you, like just because as you're describing it, like I have gone by the grace of God, and like that feeling that you're talking about, where America's busy, whether you're on like whatever part besides the Midwest, no disrespect to the Midwest, and I mean like Nebraska, not Chicago and Milwaukee, guys, sorry, I just came from there. I mean like the middle, it's slower there, but we're on the East Coast, like it's crazy, and so that exact feeling you described, like I remember leaving here 2022 and going, and I also was volunteering in a certain capacity. I could hear the leaves on the tree, and it was just like crazy to me that like it was so peaceful there that's like just like that was one thing that just came to me. And obviously that we're not talking about Khilafat in that sense, but that was the peace that exists in Islamabad. And like until you go, you can't. I can talk about it, you can talk about it, the next guy can talk about it, but once you experience it, then you'll know why. Whereas, people are encouraging others to go, because that feeling, like that's for the anime guys out there, Dragon Ball Z, when he would get beat up and he starts like, he's like beat up. I'm bringing this up because my son, who is almost 4, is obsessed. So when he's getting, when they're getting beat up, and then there's those sensu beans, and then they eat them, and then boom, they're like ready to go, or they're able to go Super Saiyan and they go to the next level. That is the closest real life example I can give you. If you're down in the dumps, you're feeling like whatever's happening, like, there's drugs, we don't do that. There's alcohol, we don't do that, right? We try to enrich our lives with these like these boosts, these sensu beans, right? Yeah. And we have people that we can be in the company of the righteous and the truthful. That's where the most truthful man is. And may Allah strengthen his hand. That's where he is. Mm. So that ultimate sensu bean is there that you're going to consume, and then you can conquer anything when you come back. You're on top of the world. I've experienced in people who've gone. You come back, and whatever worries you had, they disappear once you cross through the gate. They're gone. So that the strength that's there to rejuvenate your soul, because Allah Ta'ala has created Khilafah to get closer to Allah Ta'ala. So he is there to increase our relationship in that sense. So it's 100%, I agree with you, man. Like that's like once you're there and you get that, then you're longing for it. You're trying to get back. You're trying to chase that spiritual high. And we've talked about this before in other episodes. But how about you, Adisham? Like you've gone a few times. Like, what was your experience? Like, what makes you want to go back? And whoa.
So Alhamdulillah, I've been very fortunate enough to visit every year since the first trip I've had back in 2022. And as both of you guys mentioned, you get into a life stage where you might think or seem like nothing is going well. You're in that chaotic zone, and as humans, we get driven away from the faith as well. And in the past, where I have witnessed and I've been a part of, where Hazur came in 2018 or 19, and where I was able to serve as a khadim on the duties and stuff, and how I was able to connect with the faith and Jamaat and the love for Khilafat. And that was one of the biggest push, was like if I'm able to be in that surrounding around those people, and not just like Hazur himself, his presence, but everyone around Islamabad itself, and the people that you're around, they bring a difference as well. So I was very fortunate enough to make my first trip in 2022. And, over here, you've got so much going on. At the time, I was a college student. I wasn't doing so great in my classes as well. So I just needed some sort of a vision where I could go in and I could just like kind of be away from everything that's happening in the world and be on the right path. And Alhamdulillah, Zafar Bhai over here, he was the person who motivated me to
Yeah.
go. And as before, I wasn't even aware of like we could take a trip to UK. And I remember we were in Batur Rahman, and we had this virtual mulaqat in 2021, and it was like right earlier in the morning, and driving from Richmond about like 3.5 hours, we had the mulaqat around like 6 a.m. at Batur Rahman, and seeing Hazur's energy and that earlier in the morning, even though he's got so many things going on, the amount of love he showed, the joyful we had in the session. And then I spoke to him. I was like, I'm kind of sad that I didn't get the chance to ask a question to Hazur. And he's like, why don't you go visit him? And I was like, I could do that. He was like, yeah, I was there last year. You should definitely take a trip to UK. I was like, all right. So he went through the process. I wrote to Hazur for Waqf Arzi. I was fortunate enough to go before Eid al-Azha. So we were there and did Waqf Arzi for about 2 weeks. Got to pray behind Hazur. Just being in the Masjid Mubarak, the whole the whole vibe of the mosque is very different.
Yeah.
Because everyone's so focused, and before Hazur's about to walk into the masjid, everyone's busy like reading through. Then they're just waiting for one glimpse of Hazur, and I think that just it's not right to put it into words. If Hazur even looks at you, and like just being in that place makes everything so special.
Yeah. No, that's powerful. And the crazy thing is that I didn't know that that Zafar is the one who like encouraged you to go. And the crazy thing in all of this is that the three of us are connected, because of the Jamaat, because of the community, and then also because of Khalifa. And so that's the first time that I met you in 2022, when I also realized that we could go, and that was something that we could do. We can go and volunteer our time, and it was like a whole experience. So once I like went through the process just like that, and I met you there, like I think since then we've been very close friends, and like we've been a bond of brotherhood has been created, and it's like because of Khilafat, because of that institution that exists, that it connects. You were living in Virginia. I've been in Virginia my whole life. I've never have interacted with you, but Khilafat allowed us to then come together as brothers. And so, those are the experience you have there when you go. And Khilafat is so strong that it can create these bonds of brotherhood that exist. And we hear about these stories from the early companions in the Holy Prophet ﷺ's time as well. That the Holy Prophet ﷺ went and created bonds of brotherhood between, men of different tribes and the companions. So, this is something that's still living, it still exists. And so a lot of these times that these stories are being told, they're not just fairy tales. Like this is actually still going on. And I know that, not to get too emotional or a little too soft here, but I will, we'll be brothers. Like I'll always be checking up on you guys, and that's because of the community. And you don't get that anywhere else, You look up to celebrities or whatever, this society is driven by influencers, right? After COVID, like TikTok, all these, there's so many Twitch streamers, all this stuff. Like a lot of young people really look up to these people. You can ask a young guy a question, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know that. That's I Show Speed, right? Like that's Kai."
Millions of viewers.
Yeah,
blows my mind.
Exactly. That's Kai Sinat, right? Oh man, like he's a that. But then like they're just obsessed like with these guys who just have made this a career, right? But I don't know what's in their heart, but they're not. It's not Khilafat. So you can look up to this guy, you can follow him and look through his life. He'll make you laugh. He'll, maybe you're down and you watch something and it'll make you smile. But going back to that sensu bean, that's not gonna happen. You're not gonna have that spiritual connection with this person to bring you closer to God. It'll give you amusement. You'll have a good time. You'll circulate the video, send it to your buddies. This is funny. He recently went to Asia, and I saw a lot of funny stuff that he was doing, but it didn't make me want to go and pray to better myself spiritually. But every time that we talk about Khalifa, that's the missing link. Like, we can do a lot of stuff here. You can say that, oh, why do I need that? But until you go and you are in the company of Khalifa, then you'll see that change in yourself, or at least give you that motivation to start making change. Otherwise, you're just like operating in like a lower speed, like a maintenance speed, right?
Exactly. I mean,
you
like
won't be
you
able to
kinda,
unlock that.
yeah, like you kind of just said, like, we like all these nowadays, all these kids like following these like Twitch streamers and whatnot. You see, there's a huge void for people yearn for having someone to look up to, that leadership, right? Like some guide for them, right? But then when you reflect on that, and us and Ahmadis, because we have Khilafat, and when we go there, you feel these things. That's all the more reason for us to go, because when you go there, you realize that, like earlier, the point that you said that, Khalifa Waqt is the person that's closest to Allah Ta'ala, right? So if you want to get closer to Allah Ta'ala, you try to get close to Khalifa Waqt, because, and in fact, Allah Ta'ala says in the Holy Quran about Khilafat, Allah Ta'ala describes it as hold fast the rope of Allah, So what is Khilafat? The rope of Allah. And what do you do with the rope? Like if you want to climb something, right? You grab onto the rope, and that's how you get to it, right? So in some ways, Allah Ta'ala is telling us that, like, if you want to get close to me, then you have to get close to this person, right? And as a Masih Islam himself has said that when people used to ask him, like, like, what are some things that we could do to get closer to Allah Ta'ala? He was like, come visit me.
Yeah.
Come to Qadian.
Yeah.
Come be around me. Because, and you read that and you're like, why is that? But us three, and all the other brothers that have gone, we can tell that, when you go there, like Etisham was just saying, when I come to do namaz here, I'm going to be honest with you, right? When I go to do namaz in Islamabad, it's way different, because you go in there and you see all these people just sitting there doing tasbih. It just kind of, if you're not doing it, it makes you feel some type of way. So that forces you. And first couple of times it's uncomfortable. You're like, man, I'm not used to doing tasbih like this. I'm not used to doing this long sajda.
Yeah.
Right? But people are doing it, so then you start doing it, and by the end of the week, you're like, man, I'm actually starting to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Right? But 2 weeks go by and you're about to leave, and you're like, you feel like a changed man, a changed person.
Yeah.
And that's how Khilafat is converting like all your fears into like security, happiness. And by the time you're back to this country, like you said, you're ready to take on the whole country.
Yeah, man. And it's an uncontrollable like motivation that you can't achieve that anywhere else, man. Like nobody else. Like you can look at these Fortune 500 companies, like Mark Wahlberg, whoever, these guys will be like, yeah, I'll get up at 4 a.m. I do this, I do that. Or to put in perspective to all of our vast, diverse viewership, the one video I see where this guy wakes up, he has a bowl. He puts his Saratoga sparkling water in it. He puts his face in it. Then somebody hands him a towel. Then he runs outside. They record him. And like, this is something that like people are looking up to this guy like, that is the lifestyle. But it's like, no, that's not it, man. That's not it at all. And that rope you're talking about, right? Yeah. It's something also with prayer, right? The Prophet ﷺ says that the longer of a gap you have between prayer, reestablishing your prayer, the harder it is to establish it. So if you don't know that this rope exists, you don't know what you're missing. So the point of us trying to encourage and to just bring awareness around it is very important, because now you know the rope exists. And now to deny yourself that rejuvenation is a great disservice. You can unlock another level of your growth as a human being, as a father, as a brother, as a son, by doing this. And there's only positivity that's going to come from it. You won't lose anything. You won't lose anything. What you will lose is time from your family, time from your work, time from whatever you may be doing here. But what you gain is something you can hold on to for a lifetime. And then that rope exists. You'll do everything you can to stay within close of that rope. So it's a crazy thing, man.
Yeah, 100%. I'd like to add to that. We hear so many stories about these prophets in the past times, like thousands years ago, like Moses, thousands years ago. He was in Egypt, and we have. I mean, personally, I mean, these stories were like thousands of years old. I can't connect to them.
Yeah.
But then we have a prophet who was only 100-year old, and then we have his Khalifa, who's currently the Imam of the time. And I think the best way to benefit out of this is to, as you guys said, hold on to that rope, is go visit the place, Masjid Mubarak, be in that surrounding in Islamabad. Just being around those people, I mean, it doesn't help you personally, but overall as a family, as a brother, as a sister, or whoever you have in the family, it'll help overall as well.
I mean, just going back to this thing, it reminded me of the story from our trip. Like, as Mukami region, we went, I want to say, in February. So it was about a group of 25 of us. January, yeah. So around that, January we went. And first of all, I mean, like, just to get to the Khilafat aspect, you mentioned brotherhood, right? Like, a lot of the guys that I went to from here in this group were, like, not people that I was, like, really close friends with.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you have your groups.
Yeah.
So personally, I was like, man, like, like a lot of my closer friends are not going, right?
Yeah.
But I kid you not, man, by the end of that trip, like, I was close with
You were locked in.
every
Yeah,
single
you were
one of
locked
these.
in.
And I was like,
Yeah.
man, you've been in this mudlist for like all long. And sometimes these guys are like 10 years younger than me. And like, so like, you don't really connect with them, but you're on that trip and you're like, man, it was so fun being with you, right? Like, and it's because of Khilafat, right? Like that connection exists because of Khilafat. But what the story that came to my mind was, you were mentioning about, we hear these stories about the prophets, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that he had this quality, this, and but when you go and visit Khalifa Waqt and you're sitting in his company, you see some of these aspects that you've only ever heard in stories, right? And that's, I feel like, something that's incredible, that because no one else in the world has that opportunity to witness these things firsthand,
Yeah.
right? And I give you an example, and maybe it may not everyone may think this way, but I thought about this when this happened in the moment. So we were having our group mulaqat, and there was a young khadim, probably one of the youngest guys in our group. He got up and as we were asked, he was introducing himself, and I was like, as all of us, we understand that feeling. You get nervous when you're in front of Khalifa Waqt, and so this guy was clearly nervous, and his Urdu wasn't all that great, and he was trying to introduce himself in Urdu, so he was butchering everything he was saying, and the words weren't coming out right. Hazur wasn't understanding what he was saying, and what Hazur was asking him to clarify, he wasn't understanding. So he was answering something completely different, right?
Yeah.
And this thing went on for like good 2-3 minutes, and I was sitting in the right, like one person down from him, and I kid you not, in that moment, all I wanted to do was just like pull him down, right? Like just sit down, because it was annoying for me. Like, afterwards, I was talking to the other brothers. Everyone was like getting angry. Everyone was mad at him. Because it felt very disrespectful to us, the way he was talking. He didn't mean to. But he kept on like breaking, like when Hazur would say something, like because he was so nervous, he would cut Hazur off, because Hazur wasn't understanding. So it was just like really, we were all really angry. We're like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, all this stuff, right? And so finally, Hazur told him, like, after some time, I was like, okay, don't worry, sit down, right? But this. I could see him. I would turn around every now and then to look at him, and I could tell that like the entire mulaqat he was down. Like he was like, man, like like he screwed up. He screwed up, right? Yeah. So then towards the very end, we were all, as we call us, to grab our pens. So we're all going and we're getting our pens, and we basically would come from one end, like let's say as we were sitting on a chair, we'd come from one end, grab the pen, and then walk behind the chair, and then on the other side come out, right? So this kid comes, he grabs a pen from Hazur, and as he's right behind Hazur, he goes, Hazur, I'm really sorry. He mumbles it really fast. He goes, I'm really sorry for what happened earlier, right? So Hazur's like, kya keh rahe ho? So at this point he's like on this side, right? And so Hazur's like, kya kha? Hazur doesn't, he mumbles it again. He's like, Hazur, I'm really sorry, right? And he's like, Hazur ne kaha kya kha? Hazur looks at Abid Khan sahib sitting on the right. He's like, Hazur, Mazra, he's apologizing to you for what happened earlier, right? And I never forget the look of Hazur's face in that moment. The moment Hazur realized that this kid is apologizing to me for what happened earlier. Like, this kid was down this entire time. He thought that, he screwed up big time. Hazur turned to Abid Khan Sahib. He was sitting there and this kid was there. As soon as Hazur understood, Hazur grabbed his arm. And I never forget that moment. Hazur grabbed his arm, held it there, and Hazur comforted him for a good minute. Hazur said, "Koi masla nahi hai, koi baat nahi hai. तुमने तो बहुत अच्छा बोला है." हजूर ने कहा, बड़े यहाँ पे तो बड़े लोग आके मेरे सामने घबरा जाते हैं, तुम तो बहुत अच्छे बोलते हो, right? Like, imagine this. Hazur is telling this young guy that there's nothing to worry about. He spoke very eloquently. You were amazing. There are so many high-ranking people who come here and in front of me, and they completely fluster. They forget their words. So you don't have anything to worry about, right? And the guy was just like taken aback. Like, afterwards he was like, man, like, I thought I shot myself in the foot when I got up, and like my entire like life is ruined kind of thing, right? And like that moment was really humbling for me, for all of us, because in that moment we were really mad at that guy.
That's right,
But imagine the shafqat of Hazur. Like, what I'm saying is that you hear about the shafqat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the compassion he had for people, right? The empathy he had for people. These words that we hear. But it's very hard for me to describe this event in like it's do proper justice to it. But those of us that were there in that moment truly saw firsthand what that compassion and empathy was. And to make things even crazier, Hazur has thousands, millions of Ahmadis around the world. Hazur is busy, right? There's so many things going on. Our mulaqat happens during the day, like around noon. Later that night, after Isha, Abid Khan Sahib had his mulaqat with Hazur later in the evening, and when he walked into the mulaqat towards the end, Hazur inquired. Hazur was like, that guy Qasim, make sure that he's good. Right? And Hazur was like, uske doston ko, like, I'm paraphrasing that, like, uske sathiyon ko to like usko hosla dein. They tell his friends to give him support. Right? Like, imagine, like, this is a young guy, probably like 16 years old. Like, he's in high school. He's like barely speaking Urdu, and he's there. He just takes off this 1 week from school. Does not care about school. He's like, I'm gonna go there, and completely flusters his moment. But the Khalifa, who has so many things to worry about, so many things going on, he remembers each and every single one of us individually. Our concerns. And this is a mere reflection, this incident.
Oh man, that's like just powerful. I have like nothing to add to that, because that's the whole point, right? That's
where we go.
That's where we go, man. Because there's people have so many stories, right? But that's why we go, because now you see it. It's not a folklore. It's not a fairy tale. It's not a fable. This is the real. This is real life, and everyone is gonna benefit. So for anybody doubting themselves to go, or like, I don't want to waste Hazur's time. Hazur is our spiritual father, and he literally cares about every one of us. So once you establish your writing, take that next step and just go. Just like you guys have been saying. But I mean, I think we covered a lot in a very short time, and hopefully guys around the country, feel like they have a reason to go. And that's all we got, man. So I appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy time. You came all the way from Richmond. I know you're in medical school, so keep each other motivated, and inshallah, we'll keep on fast to the rope of Allah, which is Khalifa. Man. Inshallah. And that's all we got, guys. Until next time on the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Jazakallah for watching, guys.